Got on my leather jacket Thriller. The show ain't nothing iller. Man, I'm a lady killer. If I want her, I'ma steal her. I promise I can make her fly away like caterpillars. So if you don't know by now, then you should probably get familiar.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm Remauro, and I'm here with my partner, George Passariello.
Hi, everybody.
And today we have a fantastic guest, Jay Cohen. How you doing, guys?
Good. How you doing, Leticia?
I'm doing great. And I am so excited to have Jay on the show because I've been saying for a while, and George knows that I wanted to speak to a police officer, especially with what's going on in the world right now. But we understand that it's difficult for police officers to speak while they're actually on the job, and Jay is retired. And I'm so happy. Anna Stibkanoya, I may have said that right.
Yeah, Shlipilovskaya.
Shlipilovskaya for introducing me to Jay. And let me tell you about Jay. Jay is one of the founders of Standing Up for New York City, a nonprofit organization that advocates for pro-law enforcement policies to restore law and order, assist families of deadly crime victims affected by anti-police policies and sentiments, as well as educating citizens on all aspects of the voting process with unbiased, nonpartisan candidate information. Their goal is to maintain the highest standards of integrity, accountability, and respect for all law-abiding American citizens. And I think this is such a worthy mission, and I thank you, Jay, for being our guest today.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Jay, just so that our viewers know, can you tell us a little bit about what your life as a police officer, what you did, where you worked, what was it like on the streets of New York City?
So basically, prior to becoming a detective, I was a police officer, 1998, around that time. And I started out in Spanish Harlem. I worked the housing projects, the NYCHA projects. We did community policing. That's when they had community policing. We covered all the projects, the NYCHA, the houses in Manhattan, and then I transferred over to Brooklyn, East New York, Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, Bushwick, those areas, Brownsville, and I became a detective, and I went into organized crime, OCCB, and we did narcotics, vice, firearms, gangs. We did a lot of investigations with confidential informants. We did investigations with undercover officers as well, to try to get into the gangs, because when you have the gangs, you have the drugs, because that's how they make their money, and then you have the guns. That's how they protect their business. And a lot of times people get caught in the crossfire, and that's what we're seeing now also. We're seeing a large spike in, gang wars and turf wars because nobody's stopping them.
Well, and recently they got rid of the task force, right? The anti-crime task force.
Well, the anti-crime, there was about 600 cops that they shifted them to other units, but the anti-crime units, they're just plainclothes cops. They're not necessarily detectives. They're not necessarily undercover. Undercovers basically are the ones that are going to buy the drugs, buy the guns. They're like infiltrating the gang. So they have to play the part. And they have like equipment that we hear them, or we could see them if they have if they have like cameras on them, we could see and hear what's going on. The equipment doesn't always work, so we have to have somebody ghosting them to follow them to make sure that the undercover is okay. But the plainclothes cops, those are the cops that worked out of the anti-crime unit, the street narcotics unit on the precinct level. And they were basically going out to bring guns off the street, and
what was it like for you? I mean, walk us through a day as a police officer. I mean, when you left the house in the morning, what went through your mind?
Well, the first thing that that goes through your mind is, am I going to come home to see my family? You know, it's not one of those 9-to-5 jobs unless you're in a cushy position somewhere, you know, maybe in headquarters or something. But if you're on the street, if you're doing investigations like I did for the majority of my career, your mindset is, you know, nothing is routine. You know, they always say, oh, routine traffic stop, routine arrest. No, nothing's routine because you don't know who you're dealing with, especially when you're doing search warrants. Like we used to do search warrants. So let's say 6 o'clock in the morning, we'd be busting down somebody's apartment, you know, because that's where they were selling the drugs or had the guns or whatever. You don't know what's on the other side of the door, you know? So you're going in there pretty much blind just by a confidential informant or an undercover's, you know, testimony. And you don't know if they're going to come at you with weapons or force or whatever. And it's happened before. So we've yeah, or it's a setup. Yeah.
So is it fair to say that that sense of nervousness or that wonder or worry that you'll never come home, does that stay with you no matter how many years you're on the job when you do that type of work? Is that part of the normal makeup of a police officer that in their minds before they leave their house? Yeah,
I mean, it's something that you always have to consider. No matter how much training you have, because a lot of training that we do through the police academy. Remember, we're a paramilitary organization, institution. We have some military aspects, you know, such as saluting and standing up, you know, and doing things like that. So no matter how much training you have, you know, you hope that when you get into a situation where you need the training, it becomes muscle memory. That's why we would go to the range, to the shooting range twice a year with the police department to practice. And then they implored you to practice on your own. Go to a range, practice your shooting, different positions, because sometimes it happens. And it ended up that I was involved in a shooting, 2012, where the person came at us. We were plainclothes, like you said, and we had our shields out, and the guy just sold drugs to the undercover, sold heroin on the corner, like it was on the border of Bushwick and Ridgewood, Queens. And we arrested one guy. The rest of the team, my field team, went after the other guy, and then this other guy out of nowhere just started coming up to us. Now I'm white, my partner was black, and the perpetrator that was approaching us was Hispanic. And it was all caught on video from the actual store, from the grocery store right in the corner. And the guy just kept coming at us, and he was reaching behind his back, and we identified ourselves. Police, don't move. This is an active investigation. He kept coming. Then he finally pulled out a gun from behind his back. Right. So my partner and I drew, and he ended up being shot because he didn't comply with what we told him. Right. And it was an investigation and everything was great. I mean, it was a good shoot because the guy was on drugs. He was on heroin, I believe, at the time. And even the actual perp that we arrested, he was in handcuffs. He kept telling them, you know, that they're basically police. They're 5-0. They're 5-0. Like, back up.
Right. So you didn't listen because when you're high like that, you know it's good for your mind, right? I mean, do you find that, and obviously nothing you say is official, it's only your opinion, but did you find in your career that when there were crazy situations like this one where the guy, no matter what, came at you, were they usually on drugs, or did you see that kind of activity, from sober people?
Well, that's the thing. Every situation is different. So whether the person's on drugs, some people smoke marijuana, but that usually makes you more mellow, so you're not really inclined to be like violent. And there's other drugs that make you, more prone to violence, like crack or cocaine or, drugs that speed you up. Heroin is usually like a downer. So when you deal with a junkie, which there are many of them now, I've seen them in Manhattan, all over Manhattan, the homeless shelters, right? The hotels that they turn into homeless shelters.
Yeah.
and they just basically they just become lethargic because that's what the drug is taking over them. And then there's also fentanyl too, which comes from China, and they sprinkle it with the heroin, and it's like an additive, and that's really dangerous. It could really screw up your psychology.
All right, so George, we have Jenny Tango.
Oh, let me respond to Jenny Tango, okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now, this comment has me hot. I also support police, and I'm a Democrat. We never said Democrats didn't support the police, ever. The Democrats support police. We agree with you, Jenny. The Republicans support the KKK and armed groups and the NRA. Listen, Jenny, you have your facts wrong. Let me be clear to you. Nathan Bedford Forrest, the founder of the KKK, a Democrat. Most of the leaders of the KKK, a Democrat. Republicans do not support the KKK. We think they're disgusting. And you, Jenny, are what's wrong with the world today. You're judgmental crap. So keep that stuff to yourself. Check your facts before you start accusing people. Yeah, we do support the NRA. But we support the Second Amendment.
That's
the
right.
Right to bear arms to protect our country, Jenny. So you can tune out, please. I don't need you in the show.
Well, not all Republicans support all one thing, not all Democrats.
It's horrible that people even think that.
Nothing. There's absolutely, the fact is that the Democrats were the Ku Klux Klan. They founded it. They're still part of it. And it was the Democrats that actually started the Civil War, and it was the Republicans that freed the slaves. And I don't
Abe Lincoln, the party of Abe Lincoln, like Trump said yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't care who wants to rewrite history; it can't be rewritten. But people like Jenny want to try and rewrite the history, and that's unfortunate. And maybe if we stop, with all this rewriting of history, we'd be in a better place. But I think I resent anybody saying that any one group feels a certain way or another.
Me too.
Unless you're a member of a group with a mission, like Jay's group with a mission, then you believe that. But the Republican Party platform does not say KKK. It also doesn't say NRA. So she's wrong on all points. We also have Joseph Anichi with us. Anichi, what do you think is the best way to police the public? Do the officers need more training, or should we be training civilians? Why is the Gen Z so disrespectful, absentee parents and or mentors? When I grew up, if we did stupid things, but we always respected the police. So Joe, talk to us about that, Jay. I mean, were you seeing that as a trend when you were still on the force?
Well, with the disrespect towards law enforcement, or just with the generation? Because when I was on in '98, when I started, it was a different generation than it is now, and I think this generation now, they're the generation of snowflakes, or what they call them. These.
Gen Z, a mess.
Who knows? I don't even know what the generation is called.
You notice a difference then and now with the respect. I guess is what he's asking.
Right, but it's all because of leadership. It's all because of not just the police commissioner, because the commissioner is a puppet for the mayor, whoever's in charge. The mayor's top. So things, the S word rolls downhill.
Yeah.
Whatever the mayor implements, that goes down and down and down to the lower end.
Oh boy,
so. That's the problem, because when you have the mayor like we have now, like Mayor de Blasio, there's no respect for the police, and he chooses one side over the other. You have to be unbiased, impartial, and he's not doing that. He's favoring one side over law and order, law enforcement. But I do think that yes, officers, we always need training, and by defunding the police, you're taking away $1 billion worth of training, especially with thousands of retirees putting their papers in since around the George Floyd protests, which, let me just get off my chest, that was horrible. I don't think anybody ever condoned what happened to George Floyd. It should never happen.
Totally.
So, but with training, and supposedly those 3 officers that were with Chauvin, right? One was Asian, one was Hispanic, and I believe another one, I believe they were under George Derek Chauvin's.
They were right.
They were rookies, yeah.
He was training. He was their training officer.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that not just the Minneapolis Police Department, but all the police departments, need to implement better training. And if you're going to defund, where are you going to get the money from?
Yeah.
And also with Mayor de Blasio's Thrive NYC program with his co-mayor wife, the $1.25 billion. Where's that money? Billion. Yeah, billion now. Yeah.
Crazy.
So our organization with Tatiana Davidoff, she's my co-founder, we sent out numerous FOIL requests, the Freedom of Information Law, asking for the transparency of the money. Where's the money? For the Thrive NYC, the mental health and homeless outreach initiative. That money could be used to fund programs and initiatives, not just for the police department, but for community groups.
Yeah.
So we can bring police and community together. That's the point.
But now they're taking police out of school. Now it's so, I mean, in my opinion, when the police officers were in school, they were there to foster a relationship between the police and the children from an early age, to show that the police are there to protect and to serve and to have that relationship. Now we're taking police out of schools as if somehow the police are bad or are, there's a problem with them. And what kind of message does that show? And what happens then if kids don't understand that police are authority figures and they're teenagers? And I don't care what color.
Well, that goes back to Joseph's question. Like, who's, the absentee parents. Parents have to be, and I'm the father of a daughter. She's almost 3 years old.
Yep.
And it comes down to teaching your kids the right way. And I understand in some areas, some urban areas, with low socioeconomic areas, a lot of times it's a single parent household, So, and that's why school is important as well. School choice and getting your kids a better education, but it has to come from home also. The kids need to know respect. And the parents don't respect the police. What do you think the kids are going to do?
Well, the kids don't even respect their parents anymore. I hear some young children speaking to their parents in such a way that I want to take the matter into my own hands. I never could have gotten away telling my mother to shut up. Or
that's it. We get a smack across. Oh, forget it.
It's
we get the belt. We get the belt or the wooden spoon.
The wooden spoon.
Tell your father. Wait till your father gets home. No, don't tell dad.
And you can go into any grocery store, any restaurant, anywhere, and if a kid is throwing a tantrum, that parent can't get control of the child. And listen, I'm not sure why that is, but the one thing I know is that if the kids are not respecting their parents, how can they respect the police? And if they don't respect the police, then how can the police police? And if the police can't police, then what's the use of a law?
Well, that's the thing. So what do we have now? We have chaos and anarchy. That's the antonym of law and order. Anarchy and chaos. That's what we have right now.
Joseph and I grew up together, right? Joe's a childhood friend of mine. So when we grew up, if we did stupid things and the cops brought us to our house, my mother didn't look at the cop and go, "Leave my son alone." She looked at me and went, "What'd you do? What did you do?"
Exactly. I had the same thing growing up in Canarsie. I grew up in Canarsie, Brooklyn. I remember we got in trouble one time, and maybe we were drinking alcohol in the park or whatever, and the cops came. We tried to run. That was a big mistake. But I was more scared of my parents. I was more scared of my parents than the cops.
Yeah, now the parents defend them, right, wrong, or indifferent, and it sends a message out that created a generation of spoiled brats.
Right, that's what it is. It's a generation of entitled, like they're entitled to everything. But what do you have to work to get things. That's what I'm teaching my daughter.
Yeah, so we just got joined by Kim Salvo, and everyone, please, if you're watching, please share the video, share the show. You can invite people to watch along with you. More people watch, better, more guests we get, and the more informed we get, more people get to ask questions of guests such as Jay, who was a police officer in New York City and has plenty to say about what's going on now in the community. So Kim Salvo joined us, and she asked, do you know that NYC Well refuses to service homeless people because they do not have an address. More New York City propaganda.
I'm not sure I understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah, New York City, is that Thrive NYC or is that
it's New York
Thrive
City.
NYC, New York City Well? I never heard of that, unless it's something that they're funneling money into, taxpayer money.
Yeah, well, Kim can elaborate a little bit about NYC Well, but I think what she's trying to say is that the Thrive NYC was supposed to handle all of the mentally ill, was supposed to help people with mental illness, and
Right.
I'm pretty sure that NYC Well is an outreach for people with mental illness, and
The Thrive NYC was the mental health
right
outreach, and then the homeless. I don't know, unless they combined it or they separated it.
I think it's the outreach program of Thrive NYC.
Okay.
Right.
But it's
Right,
funny
okay.
that you need an address to get that service.
And that's the thing about the Thrive NYC, and I think the biggest criticism of Thrive NYC was that they were going for the low hanging fruit. In other words, they were helping people who were already in a program, already getting help. And we have 65,000 homeless people that you could argue have dual diagnosis of schizophrenia and drug addiction.
Right.
Mentally ill in some way because you don't live on the streets of New York City unless
And-
you have some sort of
Right, and that's the other thing, Leticia. When I was because I actually have my bachelor's in psychology. I'm going back to John Jay to finish up my master's in investigative forensic psychology. I'm starting in September to finish that up. So when you have the psych background, it helps when you're working with some of these cases that we had with the mentally ill. So you can understand, oh, this person's hearing voices because maybe they're moving around or they're looking around at things that aren't there.
right.
But they're there for them, but not for us. And then we can understand, oh, this person, and then we would try to say, so what is that person over there telling you? Oh, that person over there is telling me to kill everybody. No. That person's wrong. You don't want to kill her. And we become social workers. We become so much more that people don't understand what the police really are. And they want to use social workers to go to domestic violence houses, cases. It's not going to work because they're not equipped with a law enforcement background like we are. So we're equipped in the academy, a 6-month training program. We're equipped with everything. We have to learn behavioral science. We have to learn police law and tactics. So we have everything under one umbrella. Social worker is just a social worker. They just go in there because they have 10 other cases to get to after this case,
So can you give us, and I think this would be important, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, could you tell us the best moment of your career and the worst moment of your career?
I think the worst moment was 9/11 when we were called down there. I was working up in Spanish Harlem and we were driving on the FDR coming from Spanish Harlem, and I'm thankful for traffic. Everybody hates traffic, but if it wasn't for traffic, we might have been running into the towers with everybody else, and we wouldn't be here right now. So that was.
What was that like for you to know what happened and what in the days following? I mean, what did you do? And what were your orders in the days following?
The orders were basically go try to find survivors. When the towers fell, we were walking there. It was like a nuclear holocaust. Like, have you ever seen a movie where they dropped a bomb and then there's like the dust and the debris, and that's what it felt like. And you're walking in soot and you're walking in ash. And at the time we didn't know asbestos and they didn't give us any masks. So we had our uniforms over our face. I mean, there was no preparation from OEM or any other agency for the first week or two. That's why you're seeing a lot of these illnesses. And I have illnesses from them also, sinus problems and stuff.
I could still smell the smell. It's still with me. I was 2 blocks away. I could still smell the smell.
Yeah, just walking in there was just, and then you're seeing body parts, you're seeing papers from like Hannah Fitzgerald and ID cards, and and then we did the bucket brigade, taking buckets and putting the debris and trying to get it out there so we can get underneath the rubble. And then we went to the landfill afterwards, Staten Island Great Kills landfill to sort. We had to put on that's when we put on Tyvek suits. We had to be trained in that specific training with the mask, with the filters. that was like maybe like a month or so after. And then you also go to the morgue to separate the body parts. And it's not something that you ever want to see. And I lost a lot of friends from the police department, from fire department. I went to more funerals than most people went having 2 lifetimes.
And isn't that interesting? And you're a New York City police officer, and this planes destroy our Twin Towers, and these are the things that you had to do for your job in the days following. So let's get it clear for everybody out there. Not only when he leaves his house in the morning does he wonder, is he coming home because of the things that he has to do, like serving warrants and making drug arrests and who has guns. But also 9/11 happens and he's sifting through body parts, and he is dealing with homeless people, and he has to get extra training and go to school to learn about psychology so that he can more effectively do his job. Ladies and gentlemen, are you seeing a freaking pattern here? A police officer is not just somebody that runs around handcuffing and just, taking criminals off the street. There is so much more to that. And when you say defund the police, look at what you're talking about. You want less people on the police force? Really? Listen to this is one man's story. Now think about the 40,000 men and women that put on the blue every single goddamn day. And you want to defund the police? Please. I'm sorry, but that just what you're telling me it just drives me crazy. Because so far you've done 5 different jobs.
Yeah, and immediately what comes to my head is how we praise every first responder. You are a first responder. Why we treat police differently now and don't think of them as first responders is, a product of a few bad people putting out a few bad messages.
Right. And that's the thing. And every bunch has the bad apples, and you have to remove the bad apples so they don't rot in the whole bunch. And that's what
we want them
right. So even the police, and just to clarify, I'm a retired detective. I got out. I have my own private investigation firm now, Allegiance Investigative Solutions. But I still use the same mentality, the same training that I did with my clients now as what I did when I was an active detective.
You ran at a falling building. You ran at it, not away from it. Everyone else was
running away, right? We were running away.
How many? No. Just think about that. And I'm going to want to get to. We have a lot of questions and comments, so I don't want to pick up. I don't want to. But just think about it for a minute. We have this new generation, this Generation Z, who are vilifying the police. How many police officers are we going to get out of it? And think about of this generation and of what is happening about the vilification of police. What type of people are going to want to serve? Kind-hearted people, are they going to still want to go through the academy, put their life at risk? People who feel they're fair and balanced, or are they going to go take a different job? Are we going to get the xenophobe, or the sociopath, or the people that just want to have a gun and want to be able to be powerful? That's the unintended consequence of vilifying a whole group of people. This is so important to every city for us to have police. Why? Because first of all, we make laws. Somebody has to enforce those laws. We've already talked about the 18,000 jobs you do in a day, Jay. Now, if we don't have laws, then why do we need lawmakers? We don't. And if we don't have lawmakers, then we don't need government. And so, that is, in my opinion, where we go back to the anarchy and why this whole movement is defund the police. And these stupid ass freaking elected officials that are supporting this.
And corporations too.
And corporations. But the elected officials, because they don't realize if there's no police, there's no laws. Without any laws, we don't need you.
That's what they want. They want Marxist Leninist ideologies to infiltrate because it's been going on since the Cold Wars. According to what was that guy's name? Yuri Bezmenov, the KGB. He said that's what they were doing in communist Russia. They were infiltrating.
And why?
Demoralization, destabilization. Why? Because they want its control. They can get to our kids. they can get to our kids that are in college and they're basically brainwashing them. Capitalism bad, communism good. No, it's
And they
not.
believe it. Somebody
Yeah, they're believing it. But the parents also should be asking their kids, hey, what did you learn in school today? Well, I learned that capitalism sucks. No, it doesn't. Sit down, Junior, because I'm going to teach you about your grandparents that came here with like $5 in their pocket and they started this company or that company. That's what capitalism is about. That's what democracy is about.
Well, I just saw pictures on Facebook of a West Point grad who opened his shirt and said communism and had a Che Guevara t-shirt underneath his uniform.
Che Guevara, yeah.
It was amazing.
And
okay. So Kim Salvo just wanted to explain to us New York City Well was the original mental health program. Then they bumped it up to try to improve.
So it's a catch-all now, Kim, and it's a way for them to funnel taxpayers' money. My organization, our organization, Standing Up for we're going to get to the bottom of that with our lawyer, with other news enforcement, like law enforcement today.
Yeah.
We have a good connection with them, Kyle Reyes and Pat Droney. Yeah. So we're going to uncover where that money went. And we're going to hold the mayor and his co-mayor wife accountable for that taxpayers' money and anything else that they're dwindling because she wants to run for Brooklyn Borough president next year or whatever, and she needs a whole security detail, and he needs security detail, but he wants to defund the police.
$2 million to pay her staff.
Ridiculous. But here's the thing. But here's the thing. Why don't we amend the city charter, which is basically a representative democracy, you know, there's different types, and change it to a direct democracy. Representative, we elect the officials, they make the laws, they make the legislation. Right. Direct, they propose the laws, the propositions, and we have the decision. Do you want to defund the police, yes or no? And then there'll be another box, absolutely, hell no.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that? The city charter has been amended 5 times in its history.
Jay, we could do that together. Standing Up NYC and me and some others and George, and we'll put that.
Yeah, and Scott Lebedo can make signs for us, and he can do his wonderful.
And we'll have it ready for 2021 because, quite frankly, I think that it's time that we put a proposition on the ballot to change the way New York City
change the city charter. I think the last time it was changed, it was amended, was 1993, if I'm not correct.
No, it's been amended more recently.
Was it? Oh, okay.
But it's doable.
It's doable, and that's the thing. But the problem is with Comrade DeBlasio, he's not being reelected, so he doesn't care, and that's the thing. And he takes, like I said, he takes one side over the other. He's taking anarchy and chaos over law and order, and you can't do that. And then thousands of people are leaving the city. Thousands of cops are retiring.
And he doesn't want them back. He told them to stay away.
Stay away. Right. It was in the Post today, right? Julia Marsh wrote an article today. And then Cuomo said, please come back. I'm gonna buy you drinks to all the wealthy. I'm gonna take you to dinner.
But not
I'll buy you drinks.
Restaurants aren't open. But everywhere
ridiculous.
else.
Such hypocrites. There's such a thing.
Right.
And the freaking nursing homes, right? The 15,000 people in the nursing homes that were killed.
Well, there's an investigation underway right now, and I can't wait for that to be over. So.
I'm waiting with bated breath right now.
And you know what? Can I be honest? Everyone, listen, that's a hard situation to be in as governor, right? That's a tough situation. It's one thing to make a mistake. It's another thing to try and flip it into a success. That is what
I killed 15,000 people. Yeah.
Don't say I handled it better and write a book about it. God.
That's because he's going to run. He's going to run for president. Everybody knows he's going to run for president eventually. Yeah, he probably will because he's done in 2022. He's done.
The man who killed our senior citizens. I just can't see it. Margie Mastrom Marino, Margie Bold Eagle is her married name. We had an incident outside my house last night when the cops showed up. My son and husband were out there. I was so proud to watch my son shake the officer's hand and say thank you. I've got to say, Margie, your son, he's got the mentality and he's got the disposition to make an excellent police officer. And I hope that he would think about answering.
He should be a politician when he gets older, because then he knows he can make the laws that respect the police officers and respect public safety. But that's a great job, Margie, on raising your son.
Yeah, Margie's fantastic. Margie she has the Red Storm Drum and Dance Troupe. They are the Native American Indians that originally, owned New York, and they're based in Staten Island. And what they do is they educate children about Native American way of life.
Right.
Being lost, and they're also been fighting for an Indian monument that President Taft broke ground for at Fort Wadsworth, but was never built. And so it was an act of Congress that gave the land over for the monument, but it was never built. And the Park Service doesn't want to allow it to be built, but we're trying to get that built. So that's Margie, and her family takes in people from around the world of Native American backgrounds, but they'll take in anybody. They're fantastic. Oh, my mom has joined us. Josephine Stasi. She's saying those days are gone when we were talking about parents teaching kids. Today, if a parent hits or spanks their child can't have the parent arrested. Other than real child abuse, no outside person should be involved. You're right, Mom. But unfortunately, too many young kids know about, I'm going to call Child Protective Services on this, and they start that in school. And they're the only ones that are really allowed to teach our children nowadays to be the teachers. As a matter of fact, I think it was California, they didn't want the parents in the room while remote learning was going on. So I think we've gone too far the other direction. Ajmal Chaudhry, I am a registered Democrat and fully support the police. We cannot demonize
Thank
the
you.
department because of the evil actions of a few lunatics in uniform.
Well said.
Yeah, Ajmal's a fantastic guy. He is, known him for a very, very long time. He's a community leader, and I love that he commented today.
And that I just want to refer to that, like, people see it as a political affiliation. Oh, Republicans or Democrats. Listen, I'm a registered Republican, but I'm more like a moderate. I can see both sides.
Yeah.
And since New York is more Democratic, what we need to get are the moderate Democrats. That our organization, we're trying to empower people to register to vote. So my partner Tatiana, she's big in the Russian community, the immigrant community, and we're getting people registered to vote that haven't registered before. They never voted. And this is very important. And we're not telling them who to vote for, but we're just going to give them, do you want law and order, or do you want anarchy and chaos? Do you want Marxist Leninist, or do you want democracy and constitutional rights? So you make the decision. We don't force feed. We just give them the unbiased, impartial, nonpartisan information. And as a Democrat, we need more of the moderate Democrats to bring those ultra progressives all the way on the far left, to bring them more centralized again, because I think that's when we had a harmonious.
Well, the truth
policies.
is always in the middle. The truth is always in the middle of the extreme left and the extreme right. It's right in the middle. But I would say you can't run in the middle. Not the way our system is designed. Our system is designed where you cannot. If you're a Republican and you're pro-choice, you have a hard time getting through that primary. Our system's designed this way. Well, I have a solution. I'm dying to work on this solution, but I don't know even where to begin, is to eliminate all money from politics and make it free to go on television and when you're running for office. Money gone, problem gone.
PACs are more PACs, more donating, that's it.
And I'm a political consultant. I make my living that way.
But how would the media know who to support? They support the people.
Well, the mainstream media is so biased anyway. It's so hard to even.
Everybody.
It's so hard to.
So Bonnie Stannard says she was there at the Trade Center on 9/11. She got caught in the second collapse and walked to sleep. A co-worker, the fire came to get me in an emergency vehicle the next day. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Bonnie. Yeah. Listen, you don't have to thank us. That's part of our job. That was our job.
Yeah.
Help people.
Okay.
And
so here comes the big one. The person that introduced us.
yes, Anna.
Ishklovskaya.
I think Jay said it right. Listen to Jay and then remember it. How'd you say it, Jay?
So I'm going to call her Anaskaya. That's it.
All right. I'm good with that.
Anaskaya. Hi guys, news enforcement, last charter commission revisions and stuff as shortly as 2 years ago, and that's right. It's been ongoing, and people are moving things around by getting stuff on the ballot. And I think the last charter revision was actually with the community court, putting term limits I love you too, Anastasia. So it's putting the term limits on community boards, and I think that was about.
Yes,
So,
the term limits are definitely should be in Congress, should be in Senate. There should be term limits because
Community board's a tough one for term limits, though, isn't it? Even Leticia, you were on a community board. There's not a lot of people running up.
Well, I think that, look, our biggest problem with community boards is not getting the proper training about what it is they can do and what they do. I mean, the community board, just for anybody that's out there that wants to talk about community boards, they're a function of the mayor's office. They are a city agency. They are made up of individual volunteers who bring the public point of view to the mayor. So in other words, the city council members they're legislators, they make laws, but the mayor sets the budget, right? The mayor every year says, here's my budget for all the agencies, blah, 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 blah. Community board is a function of the mayor's office, but they're appointed by the borough president with input, with recommendation from the city council members in the district. Their job is to bring the voice of the community to the mayor's office. So if there is on a budget, the community board would let's say, we need more sewers in the Bay Street area. So they would tell that to the mayor's agency. And on land use actions, let's say, and a land use, uniform land use review, where we go through a process to either dispose of city property or for whatever the reason that this particular, or variances. There's a lot of reasons that a community board would get involved in a land use process. The community board speaks on, not on behalf of the mayor, but to inform the mayor. And up until recently, board members had served for 30, 40, about 30 years because community board started in the 90s. So they'd just be so entrenched that they start to overstep their reins, and they start to want and restrict some things or do things in the wrong way. And actually, if somebody impersonates a community board chair, it's actually a crime, and they can get arrested. Or if somebody on the community board becomes enriched by a vote that they take, they can go to jail.
Well, but they'll be out the next day now, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, because we got the bail reform. Yeah, we didn't get the bail reform.
Yeah.
It's like a revolving door. Just go right
Let's
through.
talk about that.
What'd you do? You raped somebody? Don't worry about it. Just don't do it again.
Bad boy.
Come on, Cuomo.
Talk about that, right? So bail reform, we saw this happen all across the country. And we recently had Michelle Eskenazi, who was the head of the Bail Bondsman Association. She still is, as a matter of fact. She's now sits on the national court. So this was a national movement funded by George Soros and the Vera Institute to get rid of bail reform, to get rid of bail, cash bail, because they said that it can put people in jail, that people were in jail just for being poor. And so when it was adopted, supposedly only nonviolent criminals were supposed to be let out. But you're a cop, you see what's happening. What's happening with the bail reform? Is that true?
I mean, supposedly they're amending part of it now because they see all these criminals right back on the street with no account. There's no accountability right now for your actions. There's no fear or consequence. And it's all tied together. The bail reform, right? When Cuomo started it January 1st of this year, and then we had the COVID with the shutdown, lockdowns, 3 months, nobody goes out, nobody does nothing. And then everybody's sitting home, cooped up, cabin fever, and all of a sudden we have riots, racial riots, over an incident that should not have happened. I'll say it again, that should not have happened. But I think they needed some kind of catalyst to get this thing going. Whoever's behind this, George Soros, whoever's funding this, with the Black Lives Matter organization, that's, anti-American, it's whoever's funding this is basically saying, with bail reform, and then we're going to defund the police, and then it's just a 1-2 punch, because now the police, the hands are tied, because they're getting vilified. They're not going to be indemnified for their actions, and also the people that they're locking up, are going to be right back out a few hours later. Where's the consequence? Where's holding somebody accountable for their actions?
Personal accountability is dying on the vine right now.
It's dead because of these hypocritical politicians and their anti-police policies and rhetoric.
Yeah, be a victim. It's okay for you to
Right.
be a victim. It's fine.
Right. But if it happens to one of them or their family and they have personal security, let me just let everybody know. So the mayor, the public advocate Jamani Williams, the actual comptrollers, Scott Stringer, they all have like a security detail.
Right.
The police mayor of Chicago. Is that, yeah, Lori Lightfoot. Go ahead.
Lori Lightfoot, yeah.
I'm not going to have people protesting on my block. I want my wife and my child to be safe. Oh, really? But everybody else doesn't get to be safe. But you have.
Oh, you know what? There was a place when this whole defunding was happening in California. I forget the name of the mayor that had. Was it a mayor or the city council leader or whatever in one of the Californian cities? I forget it. There's a few. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So she voted to defund the police, and what did they do the next day? They took away her security detail, police security detail. Yeah. You're on your own.
You're on your own.
And she probably had to hire, private security, like I do private investigation, but they're all private security companies that you pay a lot of money, and they're going to be using taxpayer money to fund that. Yep. Because they're defunding the police.
Yeah, they're going to get reimbursed.
That's
what I don't understand about these politicians, because again, if there are no police, they can't enforce the law, so you don't need to make the law anymore. So then
right. That's why I said about amending the city charter. We have to do something. Maybe Anna knows Anna Skaya.
Yeah.
She's very smart with that stuff, with the city council and the charters and stuff. And we need to really see if we can shift to a direct democracy where we all vote, for whatever policies we want, for whatever proposition.
Is there a direct democracy now, Leticia, any place?
No, there's not a direct democracy anywhere. And democratic socialism supposedly is Bernie Sanders says that that's a better form of government because people get to speak. But that's, what was democratic socialism? Cuba. Castro said that,
right.
that was the way he was going to go. And as a matter of fact, there's a video floating around on Facebook of Castro promising democratic socialism and Bernie Sanders explaining it. And the two of them sound exactly alike. And, it's very...
Two peas in a pod.
Castro saying this will never be a communist nation. Never. It will always be a democracy. Always. The people and the free press will tell us what to do. I'm sorry.
But it is why we're a republic. That's why direct democracy scares me.
Yeah, it is. It's scary because it's whoever gets the most money to get the message.
Well, it's we live in New York City, and it's a big city packed with people. Right. And then some poor guy in Montana is now going to be subject to our rules, even though we share little in the way of living and the way life is. That's why we have the Electoral College, right? Is to control that from happening, to stop that from that.
So I'm not talking on a federal level. I'm talking about like cities, like New York City.
He wants to get rid of the city council. He wants to get rid of.
But that's right. So basically, right. So basically, with our comrade De Blasio, right, who's a Cuba lover, right? Didn't he honeymoon in Cuba, got married in Cuba or whatever.
Oh yeah.
With the policies that he's putting in place, that the city council is backing, that would be more of all right, maybe if a direct democracy was in place, there wouldn't be defunding. There wouldn't be these anti-police policies right now because a lot of people want police out there.
Listen, if a direct democracy was in place, we would have a lot of, hardly any of these policies would have been approved. I mean, because he is the most hated mayor, and not only just by New Yorkers, but around.
Oh, he's well hated. Yeah.
Both parties hate the guy now, so we're in unison.
Well, because some people want him to defund the police completely. So the Black Lives Matter organization, they're against him for that. Yeah. Everybody else is against him for even defunding the police $1 billion. So you have both sides coming at him. He doesn't care. But then again, he's going to probably run for president again, probably another failed bid. And whatever he's doing now, so we're actually suing de Blasio, as people don't know, for our Blue Lives Matter mural with Joe and Imperatrice and the Blue Lives Matter, New York City. Yeah. So we wanted, so my co-founder, Tatiana Davidoff, and I, we were talking about it with Joe and Imperatrice. His organization is Blue Lives Matter NYC. And we wanted to do something to honor the memory of the cops that gave their life as the ultimate sacrifice, line of duty, and also boost morale to for the cops now, because their morale is so low, and the city is now scorning them and defunding them and vilifying them. And we want to have it painted by One Police Plaza, which is headquarters. We're not going to be shutting down Fifth Avenue by Trump Tower like this idiot did, and we're not going to be using taxpayer money. We're going to be using, charitable donations to our organizations, our nonprofit Standing Up for NYC or Blue Lives Matter, whoever. So the mayor said, absolutely not, because Black Lives Matter transcends all normalities, and, that it's a movement that's more important than anything else. And we're saying, that Black lives do matter. Of course, we're not denouncing that. We're not detracting that. We're just saying you cannot pick and choose and then tell us to go the right way by sending applications to the street art mural, to the DOT, which we did, and then tell us, no, sorry, but that it's only for the Black Lives Matter.
That is astounding, and I see it a lot happening now.
Forget it.
A particular friend of mine that works for a company, they're supporting the Black Lives Matter organization, not the sentiment, right?
I think everybody agrees with the movement, Black Lives Matter. And,
yeah. I mean, the sentiment, of course,
everyone's life matters, right? And
for good people, they always mattered. For good people, they always mattered, right?
Always mattered.
Yeah.
But for someone who's a pessimist, nobody's life matters.
Right. Blame somebody.
But our constitutional lawsuit, in federal court, I believe we're in the Southern District. So our lawyer, James Marmigas, he's a constitutional attorney, and we're also being advised by Norman Siegel, the head of the NYCLU, who's advising us, and basically it's basically saying that once you open up the floodgates for Black Lives Matter, then you can put any life matters, no life matters, blue life, green life, white life, Asian life.
Well, that's the way
like Scott painted, and now he's being come at by the DOT to cease and desist.
To clean it up. But my taxpayer dollars are going to clean up the other one.
That's the hypocrisy, though, and the mayor's using our taxpayers' money to paint those murals, those street murals, which are supposed to be temporary. People don't know that. They're temporary. So we're sending emails to the DOT. Yeah, so when are they coming down? Because it's supposed to be 11 months. Yeah. Only 11 months. Never responded. And whatever response we got, we would push to, like FOIL requests. So my partner, Tatiana, she submitted FOIL requests to find out what application the mayor used to paint the Black Lives Matter murals. We waited weeks and weeks and weeks. Finally, it says you will get a response from your FOIL request by January 2021. Like, screw that. And it's like Joseph, right? There's two sets of standards. You cannot have that as an elected official. You cannot take one side over the other. You have to look down the middle, like George said. You have to be focused, and you say, look, I see points from this side, and I do see points from this side. And you have to come together, and rather than dividing us, like we had 8 years with the other president, dividing the nation, we should be coming together as one nation, under God. We all bleed red, white, and blue. That's democracy. That's what my organization stands for. And that's what we're fighting for. And we're doing Back to Blue rallies. We've done over a dozen co-organized, co-sponsored. We were at Scott Lebedo's rally, showing support. And we need to get people out, the not so silent majority, to get behind, step away from your keyboard. Go out there and voice your opinion, because we are the silent majority and we cannot be silent anymore.
Yeah, it's now dangerous to be silent.
Well, that's the thing, and also
you were going to talk about something with Black Lives Matter. You said
Oh, okay. I'll keep this as anonymous as possible, not to get my friend in trouble. They work for a company that has a chat board, and every morning on the chat board they put a Black Lives Matter logo and a message. This is a major company, not a small company, and a message about Black Lives Matter and the logo. And my friend wrote, Blue Lives Matter, yes, comma, Blue Lives Matter too, and suspended it. Now that is unconstitutional to the 50 millionth degree in my brain. How could a company even process that? Where I grew up, companies I worked for when I was a kid, you weren't allowed to say anything moral. Morals were for home. This is work. And the message I'll give to everybody who's watching this show is you cannot legislate racism away. It's in somebody's soul. And legislation is going to entrench them. It's not going to make it go away. It's up to us to nudge people when we see it. And it's certainly what I do. So, it's a scary thing to do.
Goodyear, right?
What?
Goodyear Tire said that you couldn't wear a MAGA shirt, but
No,
it was
I'm going to defend Goodyear because that was one employee that wrote that. They did not approve it.
Okay, so it hasn't been proven from the company. That didn't come from corporate.
Yeah. Had they said no political message, I would be all for that, of course. It's work. I don't want to see politics at work. But, don't single out. And that's what America's supposed to be about, is fairness and balance. And that's unbalanced.
The cancel culture has gone wild, because now on my Facebook page, and everybody who is on my Facebook page right now knows that there are Democrats, Republicans, liberals, there are fascists, and there are anti-fascists. There's everybody on my Facebook page, and there was a raging debate over a question that I posted, which was, will you be watching the First Lady speak today? And some vile comments came out from both
I saw that.
Michelle Obama and for Melania Trump, and it was terrible. And I personally, stepped in and went, I don't care if I don't care what you say. It's up to you. You look like the idiot. But we're talking about women here. Talk about their mental, not their physical. And anyway, I got lambasted because I allowed the people to comment on my page. So the mob came after me.
And it was a mob. I saw it. It was a mob.
They came after me, not for anything I said, but for giving a platform to people for having an opinion. So they wanted to cancel me out because there were certain people that had an opinion that offended them. So now we've gone to that level.
It's a cancel culture.
Yeah.
Everything offends everybody. Everybody, this snowflake generation that Joseph was talking about, Generation Z. I'm offended. What about our ancestors? Our who fought in World War II? I have an uncle who passed away in World War II. I never met him. He was a fighter pilot over Normandy. My father was in the Korean War in the Army.
So was my dad.
I mean, they were there for 4 years in another country. Like, you don't hear them complaining.
No,
the only thing they complain about now is, it's too cold, it's too cold, it's too this. All right, because they're older, whatever. But they have the right to complain. Not these 16, 17-year-olds that know nothing about life. They know nothing about life, and they're out there, causing anarchy, chaos. Somebody's paying them, like you guys said, but they don't know. And then when we had a Back to Blue rally last month in Marine Park. And we were just there, with our signs. We love NYPD and, restore law and order. And then who comes along? The Black Lives Matter with their, chanting and F the police and this, that, and whatever. And then we had a debate with them. It was a shouting match. And then we had a debate. And then we were talking about, the how many police shootings there were, how many, like what the numbers were between blacks, Hispanics, and whites being shot by the police, and there was more white people being shot by the police. But you have to look at each situation. Why did the police shoot them? Police don't just go out there and say, I'm going to go shoot somebody today. That's not how it happens. And if there is somebody like that, then we want him gone. We want him arrested and gone.
Jay, I know we're running long here, but do you ever go to a Black Lives Rally matter to yell at them?
No, because I do believe Black lives do matter. It's important.
And your right to protest matters.
Right.
We did that Scott Lebedo rally. I don't know if you caught what went on there too. I mean,
yeah, there was a little bit of opposition on the other side of the street, but
police
relatively
like a champion.
Relatively none. But actually, we had a rally in Bay Ridge last month, and it was for the NYPD Mid-Turkic Arab Americans for NYPD Society. And one of my buddies, Murad, his organization, and they were and Antifa was there, BLM, hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And we were by 65th and 4th Avenue. They were throwing rocks, bottles, eggs at us. Marty Golden got hit with something with all red on his shirt.
Yeah.
And they burned an American flag. They burned an American flag.
Yeah. Crazy.
Ridiculous.
Vito Bruno had the phone knocked out of his hand, and he's running for Senate in Brooklyn. Support Vito Bruno.
Vito Bruno, yeah.
All right, so Jay, so we run long. So how can people get involved with your organization?
All right, so we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, YouTube, Standing Up for NYC. Our email, standingupfornyc@gmail.com. Any questions you have, but we have a Facebook page, a public page, where we post events and we post news like we posted today about the bond agency. That's Standing Up for NYC Inc. Incorporated. We're a nonprofit, like I said.
Okay. Donations, they can do that through your Facebook and your.
Right, so we're setting it up right now because Tatiana Davidoff started it as a Facebook group, and I came on board, and we just worked together, and we're like two peas in a pod, you know. She couldn't be here today because she's moving, and you know she has her kids.
We'll have you guys back.
Yeah, absolutely, I would love to. I'd love to come back.
So, to just and talk about if people want to hire you as an investigator, what's your company?
Yeah, so it's Allegiance Investigative Solutions. My email is nyfinestjc, one word, @gmail.com. And I do criminal, civil cases, surveillance, background checks, matrimonial, you know, my husband, my wife. So people want to do that.
For us? No, just kidding.
Yes, yeah, I'd love to. I'd have to.
You can start a GoFundMe page to figure out who's behind this Black Lives Matter and Antifa movement. Right? Yeah.
Well, supposedly it's Act Blue. When you go to donate on the Black Lives Matter organization website, it's Act Blue.
Act Blue is a fundraising platform that the Democratic Party uses.
Democrats, well,
but
ultra progressives.
To be fair, it's just a platform.
Right?
It is, I know.
They're not giving Act Blue's not giving them money. They're a platform. They're making money off of it, and the money they make off of it supports Joe Biden. But,
they're making millions, but their Greater New York chapter chair, Hawk Newsom, said if we don't get what we want, we're going to burn it down.
Yes, that's exactly what he said.
And he was talking about like Blue Lives Matter. What the F is a blue life anyway? Well, when you put the blue uniform on, that becomes your life. Yeah, but it's a choice. It's your choice. Okay, so if you have no police, what are you going to have? You're going to have anarchy and chaos like we have now.
Right.
You know?
You know, from the dawn of man, there was always a ruler and rules, and then there were the people that kept everybody in order. And, you know, you can have it either in a democratic republic, as we have, or you can have it as a communist regime.
Right.
Or, you know, it's your choice.
So I was just going to say, so we have a slogan for the thin blue line. You know, the thin blue line was created to separate the civilians from the dark side. Right. That's the thin blue line between the police and depravity. But there's a slogan that says, beware if ill of us you speak, for we are all that stands between the monsters and the weak.
Well said.
And it's a very good slogan. It's all over the internet. So it's part of the thin blue line.
It's poignant, and that's a great place to end. Everyone, Jay
Yeah.
from Standing Up for New York City. Get in touch with him for your investigative needs, or get in touch with him to help support the organization. Jay, thank you for
Please, thank you.
I'm sure we'll talk again, Jay.
Absolutely. I'd look forward to coming back on with Tatiana.
Share this broadcast. I mean, it lives on after today.
Bye, everybody.